I'm Alice.
And my name is Manya. And this is a podcast where we're going to be discussing some of the features in the IB diploma program. And we're going to be talking about some things that we found enjoyable, and we'll have someone else actually come on to the podcast to talk about their experience. And we'll go more in depth about it in later episodes. So this podcast is essentially a platform for anyone who's currently going through the IB, DP specifically. Yeah. We will aim to answer important questions and comments regarding the DP experience.
And also just demonstrate our own experiences to kind of share that quite a lot of people are doing this and kind of going through the same struggles.
Okay, so do you want to, mention the subjects that you've taken?
Okay, so, I started off with music, English, and history high level, and physics, math A&A, and Spanish standard, but now I'm taking physics, history, and English high level, and art, math A&A, and Spanish. But the only reason why I changed this is because of this whole moving process. So I'm kind of a special case.
And I take English, Econ, and Math AI, HL, and I take Bio, SL, and Psych SLs, and Spanish Ab Initio.
Do you have a favorite class?
I honestly really like English a lot. Right now we're doing something that's a little bit, annoying.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, we're analyzing a text. But besides that, it's been pretty enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
As for Econ's pretty good too.
Yeah.
I get it, and it's easier to understand everything. Do you have a favorite class?
I would say probably art, because surprisingly it's very relaxing. Yet you still have a lot of workload, but the teacher is great, and so yeah, definitely the teacher plays a big role in whether you like the class or not. So.
Mm-hmm. So what did you first think of the IB?
It honestly seemed very, kind of scary and big. It's this, it's 2 years of your life, which doesn't sound much in the long run, but when you're actually living it, it can seem a little bit, daunting. So that was a little bit scary, but I guess that, because also the reason why it was a little bit stressful is because so many things were being thrown at you, you're gonna start doing the IAs and the IO for English, you're gonna have the extended essay. It was all so much that they were throwing, but nothing that I actually had to say, that I actually do,
Yeah.
It was just kind of this is what you're gonna need to do in the future.
Yeah.
So you can worry about it right now, or you just wait.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, the IBDP program, especially year one, is really overwhelming in that way, because they'll just start, listing off random things that you're not going to get to till year two or the end of year one. But then they'll start telling you, and they'll start telling you repeatedly to kind of stress you out in a weird way.
Which isn't so beneficial, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's just a way to kind of prepare you mentally. Just what's going to happen, because at the end of the day, IB really does focus a lot on you being wise with how you choose to use your time.
Yeah. Yeah. Time management definitely plays a huge part.
Yeah. Those learning outcomes do come quite prominently here.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
So, one thing about IB is that it's definitely overwhelming, especially when you're first coming into DP.
Yeah.
Because I remember I technically wasn't here for the first 4 months of school.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing it online, and then I joined after. And I remember the first day of orientation was essentially all the teachers just going through all of the course content for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
And imagine just sitting through that and watching that sink in. Because they're not only going through the course content, they're going through the assessments.
Yeah.
They're going through the rubrics and all of that stuff, and that can definitely be, really daunting.
No, yeah, and it's a lot, but at the end of the day, you barely remember most of it. I do not remember what the teachers were saying on the first day of school. I'm sorry, but I was still in my, vacation mode, so, yeah.
So it's, IBDP is definitely something.
Yeah, which is, personally, when you look at it, like, I would personally very much suggest to do the 2 IB years in the same place.
Yeah.
It's not as bad to move, like I've just done, to move in semester 1 and start semester 2 in another place, because it's a lot better to do it in the beginning rather than in DP2, because that's when you've got all the exam dates and you kind of already have the exams paid, so you don't want to like just cancel that and pay for some other exams for another school with new teachers, and it's quite a lot.
Yeah. Especially with your, like, subject selection.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because in semester 1, you definitely do cover a lot of material, but it's not, like, a lot. So if you wanted to, like, drop a subject or change it, you could definitely do that.
No, yeah, one thing I wasn't really expecting much in DP1, especially in the first semester, is how much people actually switch classes. And, because, there's everyone who, the most common excuse is like, oh, I thought I was going to enjoy it, but then I didn't,
mm-hmm.
or I thought it was going to be easy, but then I just went on like off the rails.
Yeah.
So, that's one thing that kind of surprised me, because at the end of the day, it's not that challenging in the beginning,
mm-hmm.
specifically for classes like physics, where the HL content is like in DP2.
Mm-hmm.
So, as long as you kind of understand the basics, it's easier to kind of switch, even like just switching from like standard to SL.
Mm-hmm.
From HL to SL,
mm-hmm.
or SL to HL, it's a lot easier in DP1 rather than DP2.
Yeah, especially because by the end of year 1, it's basically just all of that, like, foundational knowledge.
Yeah.
So if you switch in DP2, when you're kind of covering everything based on that foundational
mm-hmm.
knowledge, you're going to have a really hard time catching up.
Yeah.
And at this point, I don't think they really let anybody switch.
No, at this point, it's kind of like, okay, you kind of need to know what you're up to.
Yeah, because I think if you talk to your counselor, and if it was a really severe, like, occasion, they might let you. But I think there's a very low chance that you'd be able to switch any classes in year 2.
No, and especially if you could, you'd be a little bit limited. For example, I had to take art standard, like, because that was the only option for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I would switch to art high level instead of, like, art standard, it would have been way too much of a workload, and it would have been kind of impossible to catch up.
Yeah.
So that's one thing they need to keep in mind in DP1, to make sure that you enjoy your classes, you're good at them, and that you can, like, you're gonna be okay with taking them for the next few years.
Yeah. That's definitely mm-hmm. a main thing.
Yeah.
So what are some challenges you've faced in so far?
I think definitely the time management. Like, with the first exams that came in December, it kind of made me realize, okay, how do I actually study?
Yeah.
Because you've got so much, and also with the note-taking here, because, in the first years, like in middle school, note-taking didn't really exist, really.
Yeah, no.
So, and 9th grade and 10th grade, the teacher would tell you when to take notes, but here it's kind of like you're on your own, kid, so you just gotta do what you think is good for you. And that really does impact how you're going to study. Because
mm-hmm.
if you take a lot of good notes, you're probably going to be fine.
Yeah.
But if you're that person who's just zoning out, I'm sorry, but I think karma's going to come and bite us.
Yeah, obviously.
So, what about you?
Well, the challenge I faced was kind of like when I came to school physically. Because I arrived like 2 or 3 weeks before, like, the mid-semester exams. And the thing is, they were finishing up units and topics that were being covered in the exams, and that was kind of problematic for me because they went way more in depth than I did individually.
Yeah.
And although that didn't really hurt me because it's just mid-semester exams, it will hurt me in the future just because I don't have that, like, really deep knowledge into all those topics that the kids who were attending school from the beginning did.
No, I totally get that. I'm basically having the same struggle in physics because at my old school, yes, we did go at faster pace because here we're, like, still finishing up topic 2, but at my old school, I already, like, started topic 3. Mm-hmm. But here it's a lot more in depth, and you can tell that people do know a lot more of the basics, and they have a stronger foundation than I do, which it's a little bit challenging to kind of catch up on,
Yeah.
but you just kind of need to just try your best, I guess.
Yeah. DP is a lot about trying your best and hoping for the best.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot on kind of just using your resources and making sure that you're just kind of trying your best.
Yeah.
Because you do have, like, the teachers that can help you,
Mm-hmm.
especially at that school. I think that they do try to say, like, oh, you can come meet me after school.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah. But, like, that's not really applicable to every school.
No, yeah, definitely. I get that.
Yeah, like, DP is a very, very individual journey.
Yeah.
The teacher's essentially just there to answer any questions if you have them.
Yeah.
But the content that you cover, they're mostly just reading off the PowerPoint most of the time.
No, yeah, I think I've heard this example a lot, but it's more that they're a coach.
Yeah.
And that they're just trying to guide you and hope for the best on how it goes on the exams.
Yeah.
Which, nice, thank you. But still, it can be a little bit confusing at sometimes.
Yeah. So it's very important to make sure that you're managing your time well.
No, yeah.
Because if you're not and you're just goofing off and you're not using your time wisely, it's really, really going to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
Not only in, like, the exams, but in the external components of IBDP,
Definitely.
which are, like, EE, TOK, and CAS. Because if you don't use your time wisely, then you're never going to get those done.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, it's a handful.
Yeah, it is. So, what do you enjoy about IB?
I think one thing that is interesting about IB is, first of all, you have classes that you study because you chose them, which, it isn't always the case, like, maybe one person really wants to do cinematography, but the school doesn't offer that, obviously. It's not always the case. But another thing that I really like, it's how independent you are. Like, yes, we do only have, like, one free block here.
Mm-hmm.
But at my old school, whenever a class would be canceled, it would really be like, okay, you choose how you, like, use your time. And if you just don't want to do, like, work, that's fine. It's your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think kind of makes you realize who you are as a person. Like, are you the type of person that wants to work hard? Or do you just want to have your time to chill all the time? Yeah. What about you? What do you enjoy?
I think IBDP is very different compared to, like, other types of curriculums, like Cambridge and stuff, because I'm not quite aware of what goes on in Cambridge, so I'm not really going to comment on that. But with IB, it's not only about, like, what you're learning, but it's about why something happens the way it does. So it's more about understanding the topic as a whole rather than memorizing it.
Yeah.
And it really stays with you because of that, and because of that you're able to, like, build on your understanding onto other topics, and you can, like, make connections to other things, and it's really, really helpful in that way.
No, yeah, I think adding on to that, it's oh yeah, my mind is, like, slipping away. You said something on, there we go. So IB, I think it also, one thing is that it kind of focuses on you as an individual.
Yeah.
Because I heard that, like, the British system, it's a lot on, just kind of practicing and remembering facts, or, like, just studying, and that's all that your grade depends on.
Right.
While IB, you still have CAS, TOK, and EE that you need to worry about, because they do kind of shape you as a person, or they don't impact you, but they represent who you are.
Yeah.
And I think that's very interesting to see how that plays a role in your studying.
Yeah. Yeah, like, IB is definitely a lot more applicable to the real world than, like, maybe some of the other curriculums. Because it just teaches you to weigh in a certain... it teaches you to think in a certain way, which will help you later in life. So although right now it seems really, really hard, it's really going to benefit you later
it
on.
pays off. So.
Yeah. Okay, so that's all for today.
Yeah, that's our first episode.
We'll come back with episode 2, where we're going to discuss more about the external components of DP, so, like, EE, CAS, and TOK, and how we're finding it, and maybe some important advice for all of you. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.